in growth work, I find like in New Agey growth work, there's this premise that you need to be different, that you need to grow. With the intensives, the Enlightenment Intensives, the premise is that you are already enlightened. There's nothing that needs to be changed. We just need to awaken to the natural state that's already there.
Enlightenment Intensives started back in the 60s by a man named Charles Berner, who it was the fusion of a few different techniques, Zen practice, contemplating a koan, and the inquiry into self, the question, who am I, coming from Ramana Maharshi's tradition and the Indian tradition. And Charles Berner added the component of dyading as a third sort of a Western component where two people are sitting across from each other rather than just contemplating in isolation. And this created a whole new dynamic in allowing people to contemplate and then communicating what was arising as it was happening, which is really the fire behind the Enlightenment Intensive process.
It's the process of exposing yourself, exposing all your ideas, exposing all your beliefs, exposing yourself completely to the point where you're just wide open. And at that point, there's actually the space for reality to arise, for us to become conscious of what actually is.
It wasn't a teaching, there was no spiritual teaching involved. Instead, we were taught a way to inquire for ourselves into what was true and real in the moment, and then encouraged and supported in doing that. It seems it's a very simple process, really. And that very much appealed to my scientific orientation. I wasn't being told a bunch of sort of spiritual mumbo jumbo that didn't sound very true. Instead, I was being inquired to look for myself.
When we're, at home inquiring and we come up against something uncomfortable, we'll tend to go to the fridge and make a sandwich and turn on the TV and get away from ourselves. But on an intensive, the whole process is geared so that you are not allowed, there are no distractions, you've been removed from all distraction, and you have to sit with yourself when you do not want to. And what arises is the untruth about what we believe and all our pains and our deficiencies and things that we've believed in. And as that arises, we become conscious of the untruth, and the truth comes from there.
Love awaits for you, profound love, unbelievably profound love, gales of laughter, intense weeping, an aching back, gets so tired, and some incredible insights to yourself and to life, and experiences that would take books to describe, and do take books to describe. It's just very difficult, if not impossible, to put into words. You need Rumi's poetry or Sufi poetry or some ethereal music to understand what you've just experienced. And that's without any kind of drugs, and with just vegetarian food, no coffee, no caffeine, no chocolate for days.
And at the end, people are often asking, when's the next intensive? I want to do another one. Can I do another one right away? This might be the same person who was very reluctant to do it in the beginning. That's a very common phenomenon.
The intensive gives an opportunity to really just take a weekend, 3 days, 7 days, 2 weeks if you have the opportunity to do that, and contemplate, and then come back into life and be in life with this truth and live from the truth.
It's a practice that I carry in my life outside of the intensives. My capacity to be real, to show people who I really am, to take that risk, to be vulnerable, has been increased immeasurably. Like it's not even a question.
The truth is accessible in this process and is not something you have to meditate on top of a mountain for 20 years to get to.
People are afraid sometimes, if I do this intense, if I do this retreat, am I going to leave my family or my relationship, or what's going to happen? And I say, well, you'll just be more. There'll just be more of you there with less fear, and that's it. Like, we just have less fear. We don't have to be afraid of what we're going to choose with less fear.
Every time I go still, there's some fears that come up, there's some anxiety that comes up. My mind never really thinks it's an awesome idea. Like the day before I go, it's always like, no, how about you just go to lake instead, or go have fun with your friends this weekend, like you don't need to do this, what's this? So I think it's important to realize that it's natural for like fears and anxieties and all sorts of reasons to come up, to be like, oh no, I'm not quite ready for this, like, and we are, so I think so, like I think if people are at all interested, just go and try it out, right? Because there's always reasons not to. There's always going to be fear.
We're all human. We all have our stuff to deal with, and just to be able to give yourself that gift of bringing up all your past pains and being able to let go of them, free them. So they're not you anymore. So.
If you go to intensive and you're seeing this on a film, my recommendations are just relax. And if you get pissed off, get to know anger. If you get resistance, get to know resistance. Don't have to push it away or reject it, because that's what we do in our lives every single day. It's an opportunity to just totally learn to love whatever's there.